moving in combat gear, the lowered voices of people encouraging others to not let fear prevail, which is true. I'm not here to instill the fear of man in you, because the Bible says the fear of man bringeth a snare. But the angel of the Lord encampeth around about them that fear him. Who? God. Fear God. Pray for the fear of God in your own life. Because the fear of God is connected with so many blessings, many of which are connected with protection. Pray to be accounted worthy to escape all the things that are coming on the earth. This is one of the things the New Testament points out clearly. That you be accounted worthy to escape all the things that are coming on the earth. Jesus said that. So, we're not here to instill fear of man. We're here to educate so that you can pray, so that you can get your affairs in order. Because the Bible says the prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So these are things we should be doing. And God's going to do that differently with every single person, okay? So, I'm not saying cookie cutter here, you got to do this, you got to do that, but at least you're going to be aware of it. At least you're not going to be living in some delusional dream world like the vast majority of Americans are living in right now. In a symbolic sense, that is what's happening at the moment. In other words, this sound of battle that's coming. The battle lines have been drawn and they encircle our nation. Coast to coast and border to border, the enemy strongholds are found in Washington, D.C., many state capitals, and deep in the bowels of corporate America, as well as the banksters everywhere. I'd say pretty much summed it up. But a lot of this is basically, well, we'll get into that in a second. The enemy has strongholds in the dangerous groups who worship the planet instead of Jesus, which is true. Most of these guys that are at the very, very top, supposedly, they worship Mother Gaia, planet Earth, Lucifer, all their demonic, these things. These wicked people are invading our classrooms on a daily basis with lies, distortions, and dangerous statements about the true U.S. history, and dangerous and creeping evil of the United Nations worldwide. In other words, our kids are being brainwashed with this through the public school system. All manner of evil, they're being brainwashed. And if you can destroy the youth and corrupt them, what hope is there for the future? Because the youth are essentially the future of a nation. And they're doing a great job at it. But specifically in the U.S., the enemy is hiding the real value of each life. That life is threatened by abortionists, pedophiles, and death-dealing drug merchants in gangs and in clinics. In clinics, and by that he would mean an MD, who's prescribing all these meds and people are getting addicted to them. Now, I'm not talking about emergency medicine. I'm talking about trying to drug your body into good health on a daily basis. If you have any questions about that, please email me. That's my specialty. So many so-called mainline churches believe they are somehow fulfilling the Christian mission by breaking faith with members of their congregations and declaring themselves to be sanctuaries for Mexican illegal aliens, while hiding behind their own 501c3 status. Did you know that's going on? Oh yeah. There's a whole bunch of churches now that are basically saying, come to us, you illegal aliens, we'll give you sanctuary. I just got an article last week from that one pastor, I forget his name, Chuck Baldwin. And he had a whole article on this. Whole article on how these churches are becoming sanctuaries for illegal aliens. And they're doing this because they're hiding behind their 501c3 status. Now we're going to talk about this 501c3 status for churches in a little bit here. Churches don't have the guts to preach the truth as it is, let alone to assume that they have some heavenly right to break earthly laws. All priests, pastors, ministers, and rabbis that undertake these dangerous efforts and thumb their noses at the law and their parishioners are wolves in sheep's clothing. Yeah, I would say that's true. Now, many of the laws that they're told to uphold are against the Bible, and we're going to see, because they take that 501c3 status, why they're put in that position, okay? But we're going to talk about that in a little bit, which is incredibly important relating to this. So, he says that these wolves in sheep's clothing are to be shunned at all costs. These churches where this is being done. Their churches need to be closed and the guilty parties need to be prosecuted. Well, the thing is, why that's not going to happen is because our government's the one that's letting them over the border. We could stop that in a heartbeat. The citizenry could stop it if they just let even the citizens man the border. But no, they're not going to fight that all the way. Because see, this is all by design. America's being destroyed by design. A church that upholds biblical truths and preaches against the sin of adultery, homosexuality, drug usage, and any number of societal ills brought on by far too much tolerance in the church and in our communities are targeted as bigoted. See, these churches that preach against these things are targeted as bigoted and out of touch with society. The old adage is true. Why does God turn his back on America? Because we have legislated him out of our national life. He is a God of honor. He has left us like we demanded, to our own stupidity and arrogance. How utterly and completely foolish. See, if a nation wants to live like the devil, God will let him do it for a time. He will. And all we're doing is storing up wrath for the day of judgment, essentially. And all of our stupid behavior in this country is going to be a judgment against us. Okay? Lincoln and Kennedy both introduced Treasury-authorized notes into the nation's money supply. They both bypassed the banking system of their time and brought in a debt-free bill into the financing system. Thus, the controlling banks of the 1860s and the Federal Reserve of the 1960s were faced with a loss of control and, quote, income derived from national debt. It is a coincidence that both men, were killed and assassinated? Banksters are just that, banksters who control the system, and gangsters that live off the interest of a debt-based currency, which is interest paid for by all of our illegally collected income tax funds combined. Now that's a big statement, what we just said there. Let me read it again. Banksters are just that, bankers who control the system, and the gangsters that live off the interest of a debt-based currency, which is what we have in America. Okay, since 1917 or 13, when the Federal Reserve Act was formed, I believe it was 1913, we have been under what they call a debt-based currency. They started taking us off the gold standard and officially off the silver standard in 1968. There's nothing backing our money. What is that called? That's called a debt-based currency. In a debt-based currency, you have to have hyperinflation. This is why they formed the income tax system. The income tax through the IRS is only every single dime of what you pay into it just goes off to pay off the interest on the federal debt created by this debt-based currency. According to the Grace Commission that Ronald Reagan commissioned when he first got into office, they did an audit of all factions of government. The Grace Commission, and I can get you this quote if you want it, reported back to Ronald Reagan that not one dime of what we pay into our income taxes goes to running this country. It's purely to pay off the interest created on this hyperinflated debt-based currency that was created through the bankers. And the bankers are really the ones that control the earth. The Rothschilds are the head bankers of the world. They're the ones that decide the price of gold and silver at the end of the day. If you can control the monetary supply of the world and manipulate that money, you essentially control the world. Okay? Our money is going to them. The income tax. It's going to the bankers. It's going to these privately. These people are the most wicked of the wicked of the wicked. That's where your money is going to, if the truth be known. It's not going to running this country. There's many other taxes that we have, like gas taxes, property taxes. There's literally hundreds of them. Those are the taxes that actually go to running this country, not the income tax. We're taxed to death in this country. If you have any doubt, do a keyword search for freedom to fascism, in quotes. Watch either you can purchase the DVD, or you can go to freedomtofascism.com, or you can go up online and watch it for free on Google. Freedom to Fascism by Aaron Russo. Watch that documentary. I've never had anybody prove it wrong. That's what's wrong with one of the big reasons that's wrong with our country is because of that. Then he goes on to say, how stupid must we continue to be? Shut the monster down and free our people from the clutches of these demons. Well, they're not going to do that. The demons are not going to, these devils are not going to just relinquish the hold that they have on this country. It's not going to happen. the much stated and freedom-killing actions of the 20th century have been overlooked. Hidden